Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. As I think I mentioned the other day, I don't really enjoy the beach, and I think part of it comes from what I expect to happen on the beach. You see, I think a lot of people want to go to the beach and simply sit out on the beach in the sun. I've never much understood that. I always had to be doing something, building a sandcastle, walking, playing in the water, hunting shells, things like that. I just never grasped the point of sitting out on the beach. I wanted to be busy. Our passage today talks about Jesus near the shore, and he wasn't just sitting around either. He was busy and engaged in ministry everywhere he went. Our first story today is actually a story. It's found in Matthew 13, and it says that Jesus went out of the house and sat beside the sea. Crowds gathered, and pretty soon he got into a boat and preached from there. Most biblical scholars believe that nearby a farmer was sowing seed in his field. And since everyone could see the farmer too, Jesus used that as a basis for a parable. "Listen," he said. "A sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seeds fell on the path, and birds came and ate them up. Other seeds fell on rocky ground where they did not have much soil, and they sprang up quickly, and since they had no depth of soil. But when the sun rose, they were scorched, and since they had no root, they withered away. Other seeds fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them. Other seeds fell on good soil and brought forth grain, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. Let anyone with ears listen." Now, I'm sure you've heard as many sermons as I have about the various kinds of ground the seed falls into, and typically those sermons tend to lead to the question of what kind of soil are we? Are we responsive and ready? Are we choked with weeds? You get the point. Parables were an important part of Jesus' ministry, and he told this one beside the sea. Parables are not simple stories. In fact, in parables, things often seem normal until suddenly there's this odd twist of reality. Things happen that you don't expect, and that gets you thinking. You have to begin pondering, how is the kingdom of God like that? What did he mean? And as you struggle with the story, your faith deepens, and you draw closer to God. Our other passage today comes from Matthew 8, and it's presented sort of like a day in the life of Jesus. Jesus goes to Capernaum by the sea and then has a busy day teaching, preaching, and healing. First, he healed a man's servant who was paralyzed, and Jesus didn't even have to go where the man was. He simply said the word, and the man was healed. Then Jesus went to Peter's house and healed his mother-in-law. After that, the crowd started to assemble again, and Jesus asked to get into a boat to head across the lake. But before he could go, 2 people volunteered to be one of his disciples. But Jesus pointed out the things they needed to give up in order to follow him, and they turned away. In Matthew, the next thing that happens is the stilling of the storm while they were out on the sea. Finally, when they got to the other side, Jesus encountered a demoniac and healed him. That's tomorrow's story. Jesus was indeed engaged in ministry everywhere he went. He was busy not only telling people about God, but enacting God's love and healing as he moved among them. Yes, he was very active on the seashore, but it was far more important than building sand castles. Maybe the thing to think about today is that all of Jesus' words and deeds were about sharing the good news of God's love and grace. Maybe that's what I mean for us to do when I say, thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.